Okay, this is for all of my honors English kids, my enrichment kids. I know you can do this. We're going to talk about double entry journals today. Um, I don't want you to get discouraged. I don't want you to freak out. I'm going to go through this kind of quickly. If you have questions, go ahead and send me a message on Remind or in the enrichment class. Okay, I'm going to go through. Hopefully, you've already seen um, the project, or I'm sorry, the summer reading assignment that you have. So this is not a surprise. So double entry journals, a quick lesson, and there I am in the corner. You can do it. All right, here we go. So what are double entry journals? Hopefully you saw the sample that was provided by Ms. Haynes, who is the department head for Little Rock's English department. It's a type of writing response that allows students to respond to the text as they read it. So you're supposed to be doing this as you read it. A double entry journal is a way to record information from a text and to reflect on and react to the information. You'll be told how many entries per reading as assigned. And the right-hand column is where you're going to record all of your reactions to the text. All right, so for English 9 honors, first you need to read. So your assigned novel is Lord of the Flies by William Golding. If you haven't picked up a copy, you really need to get a copy. So either go online to Amazon or Barnes & Noble or whatever and order a copy. Your parents are going to need to get that for you. If you go online and download the copy and pay for it that way, I guess that's okay, but you need to have it on something like, what is it called, Kindle or iBooks, where you can actually annotate and highlight and mark it. Okay, so you're going to need to purchase your own copy of the book somehow. The directions say that you have to look for 10 different quotes from the book that you want to use in your journal, and I'll show you how. You're also going to want to create a Google Doc. I recommend that you do it in a separate Gmail account because you may not have access to your Keppel account after June 5th. I asked already, I'll find out how long you can use it. But if you do it in your Keppel account, make sure you share it with your personal account so you don't lose it. Okay? All right. What does it look like? So here's the basic format. It's 2 columns, and on the left, you have the title of the book that you put in there, the quote from the passage in quotation marks along with your citation, which is the page number, okay? And then you got to summarize what's going on in the novel, reason, you have to list your reason or state your reason why you chose the passage. What's your reaction, your belief, or opinion about the passage? And then you've got to choose 3 different literary elements. I'm going to go over those with you. This is the actual assignment as it looks on your assignment page. I just kind of put it in here. You have to have all those parts, and you have to pick 3 of the following literary elements of these 9 that you recognize in the passage. She does tell you on here that you can use paper because you're really supposed to do it as you go, but if you want to use electronic, that's fine because you're going to probably want to type it up before you turn it in anyway. All right, here we go. This is the part that's going to take a while. All right, so remember that we read Narrative of the Life of a Slave by Frederick Douglass. So I decided to try to use that as a sample. So let's take a look at the quote from that passage and see if we can create a double entry journal from that. So up here in this corner, I added the title. Oh, sorry, I got to change that. This is, I put that for the other one. So this is what you're going to put on your copy, but honestly, this should say Narrative of the Life of a Slave by Frederick Douglass. This is the quote that I chose. By far, the larger part of the slaves know as little of their ages as horses know of theirs, and it is the wish of most masters within my knowledge to keep their slaves thus ignorant. And I wrote page 1. It's really not from page 1 if you have the actual book, but for us, that's where it was. So a summary of what's going on in the novel, Douglass is explaining how he feels about not knowing his age. He compares himself to a horse, which makes him feel like an animal or property. I would also have added, if I had space, the fact that this was the very first chapter in the book. This is setting the tone for how he feels growing up. So reasons for selecting the passage. I chose this passage because it showed how a grown man was bothered many years later about not knowing his age as a small child. Reactions, beliefs, opinions about this passage. This passage made me think about the injustices of slavery. I imagined feeling no better than a man's animal to order around. It made me really think about how hard it must have been for slaves and how they must have felt at the time. Wow, that I didn't type that right, did I? But you get the feeling. These are actually really short passages. When you do your actual double entry journal, you really need to stop and think about what you're reading, and you need to write more than I'm writing. I just did it very quickly so that you could get an example. Put a lot of thought into it. So now I had to choose 3 different things, and I chose character development, figurative language simile, and a prediction. Here's your list of all the different things that you can do. Okay, you can choose from. So I wrote character development. This passage shows how Douglas felt demeaned in the beginning of his life. It feels like there's no hope for Douglas as a weak and timid character. So he starts out kind of as a small child, feeling weak, feeling nothing, feeling like a nothing, and he doesn't really feel he has any control over his life, which he didn't. So I would have included all that if I had more space. The figurative language that I chose was simile because the word as is in the passage, and if you look up here it says, know as little of their ages as horses. So Douglas uses the simile as to compare himself and all slaves to horses who have no clue about their ages either. The comparison is very, very harsh. And then I also chose prediction because it lets me, if I had just read this right now, I would be predicting, because I know a little bit about Frederick Douglass's life. You're not supposed to know about the future part of the novel if you're going to make a prediction, which is why you should be doing this as you're reading. The reader will compare this feeling at this moment in the book to his later life as a free man who authors his autobiography and inspires others. So you see how I pull all of that information from the one quote. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to carefully choose quotes. Now, all of these things here, a lot of them you should have talked about or you should have learned about in earlier years. Some of it like foreshadowing, theme, plot, which is not in here. I'm providing you with some resources to define all that. Some of them were reflected in the lessons for the novel that I put in the enrichment class. So hopefully you did that. Hopefully it makes sense. So let's go ahead and move on. All right, so it's your turn. You're going to start reading the book. You're going to keep your journal papers or your computer near you, and you write down ideas for the passage as you go through. Try to find passages that will allow for analysis within 3 literary elements. So you need to have that list. Look at the article I'm posting about literary elements, look at the article about literary devices, and then get your critical thinking skills ready to analyze away. So I'm going to show you the first article that I have for you is called Literary Devices You Must Know. So I would skim over the article. It is a good article. There's a lot more in here than you need to know, but you're going to go to the ones you need. Here's flashback, here's foreshadowing, some of the other things you might have known about already, metaphors and similes. Personification is right here. Tone is not there, but theme is also talked about in the enrichment class. I also have a document for you called, 9 literary elements you'll find in every story. So here's some of the other ones you need. Plot is here. I don't think she asked for mood, but setting. Here's theme. Point of view, you won't need that yet, or narrator, but here's the conflict. So there's a little graph here for you too, a little cartoon that's kind of cute. And there's some examples in there, and there's some character information here. Okay, so I'm really hoping that you take your time, look through these things. If I were you, if you're one of the people who got done early with your essay, jump right into the next assignment, the soundtrack assignment, get that done, and then start working on this so that you have access to everything while you're still enrolled and it's not June 5th yet. Okay, I also have created a template for you, and if you click and drag, you'll notice that it's actually a chart. So you can click in here and you type the title of your book. Click in here and you can type the quote and the page number. And then if you go to each little section, when you click, you'll see that it takes you right to the box. So I've done that. You can change this if you're if it's a different thing like setting, you just type in setting and then you discuss the setting. If you chose something else like foreshadowing, oops, shouldn't have done that, foreshadowing, then you click on that, delete it, and then type in foreshadowing. Same thing, you just have to pick 3 from the list, any 3. But for all these other ones, for these top 3, they need to be, that's the same, the summary, the reason, and the reaction, those are going to be the same for all of them. Remember, you need 10 quotes, 10 quotes. So get started, good luck. Let me know if I can help you in any way. I'll put everything in the enrichment class for you. All right, good luck, thanks.